Start the stream, start the recording. Okay, so welcome to the Node.js Node API team meeting for April 30th, 2021. We'll follow our usual agenda, which is going through what we've tagged for Milestone 11. Does anybody have any things they'd like to share, announcements before we get started?
So is it a good time to introduce ourselves?
Yeah, I was going to say now. Yeah, now's a good time. So
okay, so
jump in.
I can just do it for I can just do it for the three of us. So thanks for having us in your meeting today. So myself, Tudor, and Vladimir are all from Microsoft. I'm an engineering manager, Tudor and Vladimir on my team. And the reason we wanted to talk to you folks was essentially to get your take on our ideas around using using an API to build a wrapper around V8 so that we can use it inside of our existing applications in Microsoft. So just for a little bit of background there as well, like we have a lot of scenarios in apps like Office today where we want to do computations rather in JavaScript, and in order to do that we embed an engine. And for the past year or so we've been using Chakra, but with Chakra going out of existence, we've moved over to V8. And V8, as you know, doesn't have an ABI safe layer. So this is where we're trying to see if we can build a wrapper using an API, and then where would be the best place to actually build and deploy that V8 binary from. So we have a couple of ideas that we can discuss with you in the meeting. So yeah, thanks for having.
Yeah, that sounds good. I know we've thought and done some things along the lines that Gabriel, for example, was using Node API in. Oh, I'm trying to remember, what was the JavaScript engine called again?
JerryScript.
JerryScript, right? JerryScript, right? So we have definitely, and there were people from Microsoft involved earlier, and so we had a Chakra support at one point as well. And
Babylon native was the reason why we separated the JS native API from Node API. So and I believe that was a person from Microsoft who was pushing that effort. So what we basically did was make it so that the V8 implementation of an API could be sort of ripped out of Node.js and used elsewhere as long as you had V8, right? And that means that things like async worker and thread safe function and that kind of thing are not present because those require Node.js internals, right? But the JS native API, so everything like setting properties, creating booleans, references, that kind of thing, that's all sort of rippable out of Node.js, and then you can just link it directly against V8 and it will not require any of Node.js's stuff. You need to do a little bit of gluing because one of the headers is private and uses Node.js, uses a Node.js implementation, but not that you cannot replace with V8 purely. It's more efficient to use V8. Like for example, turning a weak reference into like a local variable. If I remember correctly, there's like a special cast which happens to rely on the binary representation, which is faster than just using the V8 public API for that. That kind of thing. And so if you don't have that, you would want to just go back to using the V8 public API, right? But it's a very small header, and if you implement the macros defined in that header differently than what we have, then you're good to go. So that's where we were with that, and that means you can pretty much take the NAPI V8 implementation and use it against any instance of V8, even if it's outside of Node.js.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, I was just sharing. So go ahead.
Vladimir, sorry, I was going to say, like, Vladimir already built a prototype, and so he can probably walk through it as well, depending on how much time you have, or we can take a look offline. But part of the like we had some questions about that as well that he can ask. Like whenever it's a good time in your agenda to talk about it.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I think spending some time up front is good, and then we can like maybe we'll time box it to the first half, the first 30 minutes, and then we can use the second half to go through the regular agenda. I'd shared my screen. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess you can already see, I mean, what Gabriel was talking a little bit about here, that we've actually broken out the implementation in Node into these JS native files. And those are meant to be like agnostic. And then Node API wraps those to provide the full Node API, but the subset that are in these JS native ones should work outside of Node on their own. The other thing I had mentioned to them, you know, through the email that led to the Microsoft people coming here just for the rest of the Node team, is that we did create this other repo, which was for the test files.
Oh yeah.
And we'd started talking about like, you know, mirroring these. I think that's actually a good step to sort of separating that out. If that's successful, then I think we could come and think about like, could we separate out the Node files too, right?
What do you mean the Node files?
Well, like, sorry, I meant like these JS native files, like these implementation files.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They should be able to, you know, I'm not sure how we do that. You know, for the tests, what we basically said is we were going to try and set up some sort of automation that would mirror what's in the Node project into a separate repo so you could more easily use them.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it would just be the same thing where these files are mirrored as well, right? Like some automation that says anytime these are updated, we push them to this other repo as well, and then people could consume those.
Right. Yeah.
And then at some point, you know, maybe you reverse if there's, you know, 3 or 4 people using those and Node just happens to be one, maybe you reverse the order or something, but I'd see that far down the path.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, to give you some context, so we have already thought about it as a team, like, you know, people using Node API in other contexts. It sounds like, you know, what you're doing is at least to me, other people can chime up too, seems like a reasonable use case. We haven't used it in Node itself for everything. You know, partially that's history, partially that's performance, I think. So there is some overhead, obviously, in going through another layer. So, you know, we haven't pushed the, hey, let's change all of the internals. We pitch Node API as, you know, the 80% case, right? So it covers what most people need to do. Even if you're writing a native module, if you're doing something, you know, more on the fringes or, you know, performance, every last sort of cycle is important to you, then still, you know, it would be like go and use the direct Node V8 API. So just saying that as a caveat in terms of, I'm not sure where your use case fits in, but you know, that's one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, we haven't done any performance investigations yet to see actually how expensive it is, and also the way we're using it leads to, like, in fact, additional layers on top of an API.
Okay.
Because of the way we're making the engine pluggable. But I think, I mean, Vladimir, do you want to jump in and maybe give a quick intro on how things work? So that will give some context.
Yeah, I can talk. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm glad that you mentioned Babylon native folks. It's exactly how we became aware about an API in the first place, because we working lately on implementation of React Native for Windows, React Native for Mac. Our team mostly for React Native Windows, and then Babylon native folks want to have render the UI inside of React Native, which actually already happened. One's the issue that in React Native, they're using something called GSI. GSI is the API that Facebook created to interact with their JavaScript engine called Hermes. But it's kind of abstract enough. We implemented this GSI on top of Chakra, implemented on top of V8. The issue with GSI is not API safe. They're using some standard C++ types and so on. And one of the kind of coolest part about an API that, for example, today we're required to compile V8 DLL using MSVC, but having proper API safe API, we can switch to native toolset like Clang. You don't need to do any extra patching. So we can be on bleeding edge of any kind of V8 related changes. So what we've done, exactly like you said, we picked up with few files. It was relatively simple, and I think it was the only kind of issue we had. There are unfortunately, some extra dependencies like there is dependency on util inl.h file, and also dependency on env inl h file. I guess this dependency has been added later, and it would be nice to kind of remove them completely or put these dependencies inside of this internal kind of JS native v8 internal.h file. Because unfortunately, right now inside of implementation, it was one of the kind of difficult part, I would tell. Because we didn't just had to change this internal file, but we had to change extra other files. But another kind of part, what we've done, we also we have ported this unit test. We have this testing suite for this NAPIs. We have actually also split up unit tests in two sections, right? Like one of them for this core NAPI, another one for extended set. So technically, I took only this core part and tried to apply it as well. So technically, we made them working, but again, difficulty was we didn't run the whole node.js environment, and this unit test kind of they created in having node.js running in a full environment. So we had to simulate it using G-test. Was much. Each test is just G-test, and this G-test loads this JavaScript inside of our DLL, and that's pretty much the rest of the code all kind of almost the same.
So yeah, that's where, like in that external repo, you know, if there was a suggestion, we're receptive. It just takes some people to volunteer to actually do the work to figure out how to make the tests more runnable, like outside. So maybe you've already got that experience, and that would be a good place to sort of capture those.
Yeah, it would be great. Like we pretty much we can start with what we have pretty much, and then we probably extended it to be more like G-testish, if you like.
Right.
It's really just each G-test is just wrapper around what your existing test is.
So the issue you were mentioning specifically, I can see like in JS native API v8 internals, it includes node version env and node internals, right?
Right.
Is that the three you were talking about?
Yes, like there are a couple include files which I wish it would be much cleaner in this sense that we only really have to include this internal file and change this internal file, but I mean internal.h, but we had to do more. And I've seen like a Babylon native code. They didn't have to do it before, and it sounds like it was latest additions to have this extra dependencies been added there.
Yeah, we have to push those back out, or at least sort of crystallize them into clear dependencies, which can also be implemented without util and env.
Right.
So basically, we have to go back and do some more sweeping.
Yeah, like it could be that, like maybe we're using something that's in Node to make our lives easier, but it should be structured in
exactly
like a
anything
file
that we
you
use
could implement yourself, right?
Yes, that's why we need to move it out to internal.
Yeah.
And as a proof of concept, I even created just very small C# program. With C# programs loads with our DLL and capable to run JavaScript from C#. So technically, it's kind of shows power with a true ABI safe C-based API that you can actually take C#, Java, you can take like Python, and ta-da.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's
you did Go, right?
Yeah, definitely people. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a proof of concept with Go. It worked, and in this week I was capable to find the right tool to make this possible on Windows. So yeah.
And I know a number of projects do incorporate V8. So this, and they must struggle with the same problem that Node has, which is why we, I guess with external native, we have a bigger problem with the add-ons versus Node itself, but I can see everybody having similar issues. So yeah, I'd be really happy if we ended up with something where, you can more easily bundle V8 and keep it running.
The only thing, like another caveat about this exercise was NAPI was created first of all to be for extension modules, and if you talk about like the whole V8 DLL, there are some APIs needed to effectively host JavaScript engine. Like, for example, we need to have stuff which creates environment and tears down environment, right? Like at least these two kind of things which you don't want to expose to extension modules, but you do want to use it from host environment. So
Yeah.
basically, we need to have some kind of host extensions APIs, if you like. And
I think
go ahead.
we could probably handle that in a similar way of the layering, where we have like this JS native part, which is meant to be the agnostic piece. And then in Node, we have like the Node API, which is built on top of that. I mean, maybe the same model works so that, like, you know, we keep the JS native piece as it is, but then there's a layer on top that pulls that in, that adds those extra host kind of things for that particular type use case. That would make sense to me.
Right. Yes, I think it will make perfect sense. So in this case, we can reuse this core like in different scenarios, like extensions or kind of hosting engine.
Right.
Then you pretty much, depending on scenario, you have extended set of APIs, like being inside of node.js or being. And another kind of issue we faced as well was because, like I said, one of the key scenarios for us is using React Native and React Native using GSI. So we have had to implement GSI on top of an API. This was one of the kind of our discussion points been with Babylon native folks as well, like because right now it's much worse what we have to do. But going directly, making an API the kind of core ABI safe layer for extension modules in React Native Windows. This was actually I am targeting as well to implement. We can actually do a lot of interesting things. And unfortunately, some GSI construct requires some usage of some effectively global values a little bit differently from what an API exposes. Namely that I extremely like an API value. It's very lightweight and no ref count, and it's direct to the engine, perfect. But I believe an API ref, it's something that I think could be improved. And unfortunately for this implementation, I had to implement alternative, I call it NAPI EXT ref. Main reasons because NAPI ref, first of all, must be only object. But in case of GSI, we want to wrap up symbols and strings. And because I couldn't do it, I had to invent something else without changing NAPI itself. It also some handling of even weak pointers, surprisingly, because I maybe still be able to use an API ref directly, but yeah, because of I had to have a common denominator for all these objects. So pretty much I want to handle objects, symbols, and strings, and weak pointers the same way. So again, I had to come up with this custom reference pointer, and I think like if we want to improve this kind of global object, if you like, maybe we can have something better and be kind of used across the board. I think it's the key things. And also mentioned in our emails that I found there is an implementation bug for get all properties. I think it was introduced quite recently, and it seems like this feature didn't have enough testing. And as you know, like you can search for properties using different criteria, and it seems was just a copy and paste bug. Then you asking criteria for be configurable, but internally you can see people using writable.
Okay. So yeah, like if you can open issues for the, you know, that one in particular, if you can open an issue and, you know,
or better yet, the pull request.
Or yeah, even better, a pull request that says. Now that one, you know, we'll have to understand how recently it was introduced, and because we always worry about breaking, like to maintain the ABI stability, right? We don't tend to. Sometimes even if it's a bug, we end up creating like, okay, here's a new version of the API, so that if there are people using the old one, we don't break them. Now it depends on whether, like you said, if that one was recently introduced, whether it's in experimental or actually in an API version.
I can tell you that. Get all properties. All right, so JS native API .h all props. All right, get all property. No, that's get all property names. Yeah, no, that
Yeah,
you're talking about.
Get all property names. Sorry, yes.
Right, that is stable in version 6. So
Okay.
we're gonna
It's
have
been
to
a
worry
while.
about ABS. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
we're gonna have to see about it.
we'll have to figure out, like, obviously it doesn't require a change to the API, but if it's going to change the behavior, we'll still think about that.
But I think using this configurable as a search criteria, probably it's so obscure, nobody probably ever hit it, because if somebody ever hit it, they would report a bug.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what we'll factor in. Like, if it's the kind of thing like anybody using it is actually getting the wrong answer or would never have done it, then yeah, we may fix it. So that's where I think we kind of want to time box this. It sounds really interesting. What I'd say is, please get involved in the different repos where we can, like, those, if you open issues, PRs, if you have cycles to start working in that test repo to, like, move, I think don't want to speak for the whole team, but I think it sounds interesting to me and something we'd want to support. And
Absolutely.
Feel free to show up at these meetings regularly. Like, you can come every week. We're always looking for more people to help move this forward. And it sounds like, if you're using it for use case, you'd want to be doing that too. So.
Excellent. So what will be our next step? Should we just shoot a few emails, or you have some kind of distribution list to discuss this type of topics?
I think issues, GitHub issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, GitHub issues is really where GitHub is where we do all the work. That way there's a good record. So if you open some issues in, Node.js, and I guess not necessarily Node.js on API, but there's choices. ABI stable node is probably the place to open if you want to have, like, conversations with this team, because that's our team.
And our architectural questions, that kind of thing, design, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So that's Node.js/ABI stable node. For, like, a very specific bug, that one you mentioned, an issue in Node.js/node would be the right place. And then the third one just that we have is Node add-on API, which is a C++ wrapper. I don't know if you've looked at that or plan to use that at all, but that's meant to be something which is like C++ sugar on top of the C API. So you still get the ABI stability of the C API, but you can use some of the C++ magic as well.
Yeah, we plan to use it. We didn't get to it yet.
Okay.
So we just try to, but for example, Babylon native guys, they do want to use this C++ breakpoint.
Okay.
Cool.
So yeah, I'd say open some issues in ABI stable node, and we can have the conversations there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then feel free. You can show up to these meetings. We do them every week, and that's a good place to, once you've opened an issue, we'll have time to have looked at it, and we can talk about it on the agenda like everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. So, just one quick question before you wrap up. Like, do you think there would be any interest in shipping that V8 wrapped DLL from Node.js itself? Like, would you have any use cases for that?
You mean V8 wrapped with an API?
Yes.
Actually, if you want to ship that, I think one of the best places to put it at first would probably be the test repo, because if we move the tests to the test repo and we have an implementation based on V8, we can actually run the tests in the test repo, right? And then that would validate the tests, and it would validate an API outside of Node, right? And
so go ahead.
No, that was pretty much my point. Like, it would be great to actually have, like, running tests in that external repo, and having like, that the DLL you mentioned would become sort of the reference implementation, if you will, of an API, right? Because it would be completely outside of Node. It would not be tied to any project, and then anybody could just grab that thing and run with it, and you would be the first customers, basically.
Right. Now, but I guess to the specific question, I'm not sure the Node project, like, as a whole, would be necessarily interested in shipping a V8 wrapper, right? Because that's not really the Node project's business.
Right.
I could see it making sense as a project for sure under the OpenJS Foundation. So I mean, yeah. So I think my initial reaction is like, us including repos that have some of the separate pieces to make it more easily consumable. That makes sense. In terms of like, here's a binary that we ship and support from the project, I think a little bit less so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. Right. Yeah. So I don't know if we'd start making releases and like publishing them on the Node.js website, but having like working and tested code is a huge benefit in and of itself, right? And besides, this isn't really like a sort of a end user product, right? This is more geared for developers, right? So they could like depend on the repo, right, and then build their products on top, right?
Yes.
So and yes, we could cut releases in the sense that we tag commits in the repo, right, and then they can run with those. But I don't know that we would need like a release tarball with just an SO, So I mean, in the end, we might end up. I mean, I don't know where this is going to go, but having it in place, I think, would be great benefit.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll discuss it a little bit on our side as well, and then we can chat a bit more about it. But that gives us good context.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I mean, it could evolve into a dependency like libuv, which is actually its own project.
Yeah.
But it leverages the community CI, and and I could see that little synergy making sense. But
yeah.
But that would be a ways down. I think really, to start with, it's like we can work to try and make it so that it is a little bit more separate in terms of at least, you don't have to manually pick out of the node tree. If we had some automation to push the test, to push the code,
yeah.
that would be the place to target for today.
Yeah, and we'd already get pretty good testing, right? Because I mean, just GitHub Actions alone already have a few platforms. They don't have as many as the Node.js CI, but that's still pretty good coverage, and it'll probably catch a lot of the failures, and then and an API will continue to receive extensive testing on the Node.js side, right? So there would sort of be like a cross-pollination,
Okay, so maybe if we can take that back to GitHub and or future meetings, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We have 22 minutes left. So let me pull up the issues we have tagged. Oops. Okay, I will share again. We'll see what shows up here. I assume people can see the screen now. The first one is the blog post about the transition to Node API as a name. Go ahead, Nicola.
Okay, I sent the email to Rachel, and I think that we planned for the blog post for the next Monday. Okay, and
like after the weekend, or as I forget, is it a week out, or like 4 days from now? Is that what it is? Or a week after that? I can't remember.
So is it 3 days from now or 10 days from now?
Yeah. Okay. In the blog post, we did not mention it. The Node.js version that will be updated because I don't know if this is important to specify. So the documentation will be updated for node 15 and 16 and above. So if you read 14, yeah,
Right.
yeah, you will find an API, not Node API. So
I mean,
I think that this is the only thing that we missed in these blog posts.
so we could just add something like this if you think that's right. We only plan to make these changes in more recent versions, right?
Yeah.
Recent versions. How about that? Or maybe that should be up here. What's that? Or maybe only in.
Yeah, that makes sense for me.
Is that good for everybody?
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks for pointing that out. So basically, that's on track to be published, which is great. The next one is the talk for OpenJS World.
Okay, I shared the slides and I took I copied the last slide that we used that in 2019 talk in Montreal, and feel free to update the content, remove what you need to and then I will take to update the style after we are sure of all the content. So
Oops. Then maybe I shouldn't have added I added the content for the context stuff. So and it
yeah,
is
okay,
kind of
okay.
wide. Oh, you can change it afterwards.
Yeah, for me it's okay. You add your content. Everyone can add the content, and then we will decide the order of the content that we added. I hope next week, and then I will work to on the style for the slides, and we in 2 weeks we can record the talk if you agree with this timing.
Sounds
So
good
working
to me.
this, I think that we need to work this week to add the content, and the next week we share all our ideas and then I use the next week to style the slide, and after we can record the talk.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody who's talking, that's called to action. Let's make sure we fill it in this week.
Yeah.
I saw also the email from Kevin that he hasn't been able to connect with Shannon yet, so I'll see if I can try and help on that front next week.
Okay.
But I'm sure we can get that resolved.
But if we have the content, is always good.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah,
well, exactly.
for sure, yeah.
I'm just saying, don't worry about that. We'll get that part solved, but we just need the content in the recording. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. Stale issues. I'm just going to take a quick look. I don't think there are any. Nope. So what I would like to do is spend a bit of time to just go directly to the issue that we've been trying to debug with the crashes, because I've I'm just going to open this and go to it. Sorry, do you have something, Nicola?
I want to ask something to Gabriel, if I can.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, it's a. I want to work on the tagging API on Node on Node.js API, you know, and I rate the benefit is for object wrap, no, but we can tag any JavaScript value.
Yes, that's right. No, we cannot tag primitives. We can only tag objects, because it has to support whatever it is that we tag has to support properties, right? So because a tag is implemented as a private property, right? And so it's pretty much limited to objects. So like you cannot tag a string, you cannot tag an integer, you cannot tag a Boolean, but you can tag an object, a function, and that's about it.
Yeah. So it's not a method for a value, but it's a method for object.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is my doubt. If I can tag a primitive or not. Yeah. So in this case, only object. Okay. So I will try to add this API.
Okay. One thought is that one very convenient and transparent way to do this might be to just have like an object wrap subclass, right? Where you can add the tag as a template parameter, right? And so you derive like the user would derive from this class instead of object wrap, and then all the instances would not only be instances of the class, but they would also be tagged, right? And then they need only specify the tag in the class definition, and that's it. And then the API would take care of it internally.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a very convenient way of doing it, for example, and then that would be, I don't know, that would be something like tagged object wrap, or strong object wrap, or whatever. And then we can explain the documentation, what it means to be tagged and what it means to be, or what it means to be strong, So, and then the user doesn't have to say, like in every method, they don't have to say like, get the tag, or is it tagged with this, we would do it for them before we call the instance method or the static method or so forth. We would do it for them. So you can solve it with like, you can solve it with how we have the callback, the callback wrappers in an API inline.h, right? We have the callback wrappers. So you would just have to write another set of callback wrappers for tagged objects, and that's it, and you'd be done.
Yeah. Okay. I will try to do like you suggested. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. That's very, very cool. Yes, please.
In case I have problem, I can ping you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Cool.
Okay, so moving on to issue 906. I have managed, I think, to get a setup that actually can recreate it at least, if you run a number of hours. It takes running, it's basically running 100 in parallel. Like I have a machine with many, many cores. And so if I run 100 in parallel, it also, unfortunately, the test hangs. So I have something that says like after 30 minutes, kill the ones that are still running and start again. And anyway, through that I can get through like 140 runs an hour or something like that. And from what I've seen, I haven't looked at the full set yet, but from what I've seen, this seems to be pretty consistently near the bottom. And when we actually see something that there's a sig sev, it's giving me this thing where it's complaining about use of, now basically saying I'm doing an invalid read of something that was deleted, and the thing that it's complaining about was this NAPI module register symbol. So I'm wondering if that triggers anything for you, Gabriel, in terms of like in
Michael,
that. Yeah, go
can
ahead.
you scroll down to the bottom? I've just commented that it's very similar to I've observed in testing around the second pass callback, that I found that there are possibilities that we are deferring, let's say, buffer finalizers and object finalizers to a next set with the environment set immediate, and that immediate is running after the NAPI env
Yes.
Okay.
is being destroyed. So that the possibility is that those finalizers are being run after the actual environment being teared down. So
Yes.
I believe I have mentioned this situations earlier, but I haven't had the time to, like, say, reproduce it. So I found that this backtrace is very identical to the
Okay.
situation I've observed. So maybe we can submit a fix to, like, say, since
Yeah.
you find it very consistent, right? So we can test it around.
Yeah, if you have, if you have a fix that I could try out, that's something that I can. I'm relatively confident that if I run for like 6 hours or 10 hours, we'll recreate it if it's still there.
Yeah, but I don't have a fix yet, but I have observed the situation, so I would like to.
What do you think?
Submit.
What do you think about not doing set immediate if the environment is being torn down? Because I think the set immediate was added because of the way V8 does garbage collection, right? But when the environment is being torn down, then it's not because then we're running the finalizer, but not because garbage collection. We're running it because the environment is being torn down, right? And so we don't need the set immediate, right? But inside the code that attaches the set immediate, we need to be able to distinguish between, is this a garbage collection pass or is this an environment teardown pass? So we may want to add a method to an API env that says, is teardown, and then don't do set immediate. What do you?
The problem occurred to me that is my first thought on this is that the situation is very similar to the second pass callback, that it is that we cannot cancel those finalizers, scheduled finalizers once we are, like, say, the environment paradigm is on the middle of the scheduling. So there is no way to cancel those finalizers. So
yes,
the actual finalizer is being run after. It's scheduled before the environment teardown, but it's run after the environment teardown. So it's very similar to the second pass callback issue.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So if we look at the, like, is there a particular spot in the code we can look at?
Yes, I can. It's on the file in file node API.cc.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can say,
just look for
the co-finalizers.
This one here.
On the
Okay,
top
right.
of the file.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There is a reference into the like, say, code into module in the in the Lambda.
Yeah.
So you're saying is this env here is already destroyed at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It likely will be. Yeah, during teardown. So basically what I'm thinking is, you know, call finalizer should behave exactly the same way as it does in JS native API v8.cc, but only if it's environment teardown, right? Because then you don't do set immediate, so the environment is not gone, right? When you call the finalizer, and we have the additional protection that Lucas added, which is to have like a disconnected pointer added to the actual V8 weak callback, which stays alive even if the object is destroyed, but is null and will be destroyed unconditionally whenever the finalizer gets called. So if
Sorry, you're breaking up a
so we
little
have
bit.
the protection in V8, like in native API. What I'm saying is, if you can hear me, we have one protection in place, right? In in JS native API, we have this disconnected pointer that Lucas added,
Yep.
which is not part of the actual reference, right? So
Yeah.
that protects us in JS native API, right? We need that same protection here, but we also need a second protection that says, if it's environment teardown, then call the finalizer immediately. Okay, call the finalizer synchronously instead of using set immediate, because then we will have reverted the behavior, but only during teardown, to having synchronous finalization execution, right? Which means the environment will still be alive when the finalizer executes. And then with the second protection that Lucas already added, we will have like, we won't have like a use after free of the reference either. So I think what we need here is, you know, if environment teardown, then don't set immediate, but call into module right away.
But
Right.
one problem that occurred to me that is about the buffer finalizers. Buffer finalizer is independently implemented, and it's the set
Yes.
immediate is added by Anna to prevent running calling into module in the middle of garbage collection. So
Yes.
I wonder that if we calling into module synchronously in the garbage collection, that will cause another problem.
Oh yeah, that's right. We don't. What we say is, so in this function we say, if we are in the middle of environment teardown, then call into module, else set immediate and call into module, right? So because we know that environment teardown is not garbage collection, it's not the same. We just want to make it look the same, right? Because we want to clean up all the same things that we do during garbage collection. We want to clean them up at the environment teardown too. But during environment teardown, we don't need the set immediate, right? So that's why that.
So ultimately, we still need to add a indirect link to the, or like say, in the immediate lambda to prevent the use of free of the pointer. And
yeah, we don't
add the check in if it's a environment teardown callback.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And so we need to like be able to check that it's environment teardown, right? I don't know if we have that kind of check right now. I think maybe in like JS native API v8.h, I think that's where the teardown happens. So before the environment goes into finalize all, we have to say something like, you know, env arrow is teardown equals true, and then finalize all, and that's it.
Sorry, which file would that be?
JS native API v8.h. One down.
Sorry, this one?
Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, so
and I'm searching on.
Look for finalize all. Yeah. Again, you want the call site. Yeah, there. So oh no, you wait. What? Oh, here, yeah, these. Yeah, so basically we need to like, we need to put like some flag into the env that says being finalized, and then it's set to
Sorry, sounds like the sound is off.
set to false throughout the entire before we. Okay, sorry. If you can hear me, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, can you go back to where the finalize all call site is?
Okay, sorry, I was just looking if there's somewhere else. Finalize all.
Yeah, the call
Right.
site. Yeah. Okay. So if you can hear me, what I'm suggesting is that we have a member variable in an API env that is a Boolean that is false. It's set to false during construction, and right before we call finalize all, we set it to true, right? And then we have a function that retrieves the value, and then the finalizers will be able to say env get is teardown, right? And that returns that will return true during this teardown, right? And it'll return
That's in
false
this part, right?
no,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
because call finalizer is being overridden, right? In a node API. So basically,
Okay.
call finalizer has to have access to this new method on an API env that
Right.
tells it whether the env is being torn
Okay.
down or not. And we kind of already have that, because I know we can do is env teardown. Oh, wait a second. Go up for a sec. Go back to the call site. Finalize all. Okay, I'm sorry. Go to the implementation of finalize all, please. Which I think was above. Yes. Okay, so we call finalize with true, right? So whereas finalize normally gets called with false. So so we should have access to whether this is an environment teardown, where we call finalize callback. So that means that in node.api.cc,
Okay, let me go back there.
we should have access to that. Okay, so buffer finalizer, okay, yeah, finalize.
Maybe if I search on this.
No, I think I know what the problem is. I think the buffer finalizer inherits from finalizer, not from reference. And that's the problem, because yeah, this should have a Boolean parameter. So yeah, okay, but anyway, basically the value that is being given to finalize during finalize all needs to be sort of threaded into or woven into this node API.cc. Because these are all subclasses of regular finalizers, right? And on the JS native API side, we have one subclass, which is reference, and then everything is a subclass of that, right? Or sorry, we have ref base and then reference. But these are so basically the class hierarchy is finalizer, ref base, and reference, right? And these, I think, are descended from a class that is too high on the hierarchy, and that's why it's not getting this environment teardown flag. So that's what we need to fix. And then once we have the flag, we can decide not to do set immediate.
So this is in which one? It was in finalize all?
Well, yeah, we need to trace. Basically, what we need to trace is what happens. Like, how does finalize all end up calling the buffer finalizer? That's what we need to trace, right? Because finalize all definitely calls finalize, and finalize definitely gets a Boolean. So why is that Boolean lost as the call propagates to the buffer finalizer? It shouldn't be lost. It should be transmitted to buffer finalizer.
Sorry, where was that finalize all again? That was in. So this one, so sorry, we were looking at a particular line which was like call, or no, set immediate, right? Immediate.
Yes.
So this call finalizer gets
Oh,
called by.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's a bit of a problem. Finalize data hint. Okay, so this is a. So this is like an
It
NAPI
seems like
finalizer.
the buffer finalizer isn't checked by the ref checker. The finalizer is just a data structure that wraps around the NAPI finalizer.
Yeah, okay. Wow, okay. So this is threaded way deep. But okay, but then we can solve this problem. Okay, see on line 41, we retrieve the environment, right?
Yeah.
So what we need is we need a new method on NAPI env that says that returns a Boolean and is called isenv teardown, right? And that method always returns false, except when it gets called from except after the destructor for NAPI env has already started executing, because the first thing the destructor for NAPI env does is set a value to true, which will then be retrieved here, right?
Yep.
And then if that value is true, then you don't call set immediate, but you call the body of set immediate, which is to call into module.
Gabriel, it will not work because this class is actually inherited from NAPI environment, and destructor of NAPI environment will be run after this method runs, right? So think. Because this virtual method, what I see.
Okay, but this method only gets called after the destructor has already started executing.
It cannot,
right?
Because it's virtual. It's usually in destructor. Then the destructor runs. We can overwrite in this vtable. Technically, this method will be not visible when we run destructor inside of NAPI environment itself.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Huh.
I had to solve similar issues back in office. We basically, instead of running finalizer from destructor, so we do it today here. My suggestion would be effectively we have ref counting for environment, right? So I did that. Then ref counting goes to 0. At this point, we run all finalizers, and only after
and then call. Yes. That's a good idea. That's actually an excellent idea. Yes.
So
okay.
Yes. In which one?
Oh, that's a good question.
If you look inside of this JS native env.h, this NAPI environment itself is a ref counted object. So technically we control lifetime. So then ref count goes to 0. We call destructor. But before we call destructor, we're supposed to run all finalizers. So actually, if
that's right.
It's a kind
of, we have an unref for the env.
Right, so that's this part, right?
Right, but with this destructor being called somewhere, there is a code that then we see unref like line 77, then we're saying
that's the one.
The ref count becomes 0. We say delete.
Right.
We have to run finalizers before we call delete.
Yes.
Right.
That is absolutely correct. Yeah. So instead of delete this, we would have to say, we would have to put that code here.
Which makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so that's good. Does it still need to fix up? Like, that seems like we've already,
Right. Yes, we definitely need this flag. Like everything what else Gabriel said, it would work. It's only kind of caveat. In addition to what he suggested, we also need to change when we call finalizer, because otherwise this virtual method will be never called. We will not have right sequence of destruction.
Right.
So we must call finalizers before we call delete.
Yes. And you know what? Doing that will solve another problem, which is that we are currently unable to determine whether we should call into JavaScript or not. I've been working on that. The proper statuses, distinguishing between a pending exception and unable to call JavaScript. And what I saw was the reason why we are not able to make the distinction is because in the destructor, when I can call into JavaScript, it actually ends up calling the superclass, which always returns true, right? Because the subclass node API env, which is in node API.cc, is a subclass of an API env, and that one implements the proper can call into JavaScript checking. But that implementation is gone by the time the destructor happens, because the subclass is already cleaned up. So moving these methods to where we delete the object and running them right before we delete the object is exactly the right solution.
Okay, so we move that, set the flag just before we call them.
Yes.
Then they'll use the flag to say, okay, don't call set immediate. Do we still need? Is there still a chance that some immediates are queued?
Yes, but that should be taken care of with Lucas's solution.
But then, so then separately, we also need to say that we don't pass the M directly, we pass a pointer to the M.
Yeah. Well, not the env, the reference, right? Like Lucas's solution is to create like a location in memory that holds only one pointer to the reference, which gets nulled out and then gets deleted when the garbage collector calls the finalizer. If it's it gets deleted anyway, and if the contents is not null, then the finalizer gets run, and if the contents is null, then it just gets deleted without the finalizer getting run. So we need the same solution. We need the same solution for these as well.
Right, but if I was looking at, where was that again?
But wait a minute. I think we benefit from that solution already, because the buffer finalizer is an NAPI finalizer, right? So it already uses the reference mechanism, right? So we're already benefiting from Lucas's solution. The only thing that we still need to fix is to not call set immediate, for which we need the solution we just discovered.
I was wondering that the buffer finalizer isn't in the class hierarchy of the fix we just submitted. It's the buffer finalizer is extending the finalizer, but the class we are fixing is called reference, which is extending the ref checker.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not the M here that we're worried about. It's the back. Where is that code?
Which code?
The one, the buffer finalizer you're talking about that needs to be fixed?
It's node API.cc.
.cc, yeah.
Right. Okay. Node API.cc, and there's buffer. Right. This one.
It's a very simple wrapper around the NOPI finalizer, the C structure. It's holding the data and the hint.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. So this finalized buffer callback, this is actually given to V8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's a different mechanism. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So Lucas, I think you may have to implement your solution again for this finalizer, like the solution with that extra pointer.
Right. And where would be the extra pointer here?
Well, whatever we pass to V8 or node would be the extra pointer instead of the buffer finalizer itself. Yeah, there. Yeah.
It's the move option in the Lambda.
Sorry, which line?
std move in the Lambda construction.
Oh, here. Okay, right here. Right. Okay, right. That one. I see. Yeah, there's the set immediate for that one.
Yeah. So this finalized buffer callback, that is being passed to V8, right?
Actually, it's a node core wrapper around the V8.
Okay, well, okay, it's being, it doesn't matter, but the point is it's being passed out, right? And so this let's see. Okay, so the void star hint. The void star hint would have to be like one of those pointers that you created on the reference side. And then you don't cast it to a buffer finalizer, you cast it to like a buffer finalizer container or whatever. And then if buffer finalizer container arrow finalizer is null, then then just delete the container. And if it's not null, then do everything you do here and then delete the container. So, which is exactly the same solution that you did for reference. So that this is where your solution would go, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Sounds good. This is great. All of these things need to be done now.
Yeah. So let me just understand this a little bit better. So that in here, the STD move, what's moved into there needs to be and the finalizer is, where's that finalizer? Because you're saying it needs to be like a wrapper of another wrapper, or that needs to be like an indirect.
So basically the void star hint here, right, is the thing that we are trying to destroy. But the void star hint may have been destroyed because of finalize all, right? That was the problem with references. The reference may have been destroyed because of finalize all. And so when the garbage collection weak callback finally gets called, then that pointer is stale, right? And so Lucas's solution was to create a second pointer, which is not contiguous with where the reference itself is being stored, right? And that pointer contains a single value, which is the reference, right? And then the reference contains the pointer. And so when the reference gets destroyed, it sets the value inside this discontiguous pointer to null. And so when the garbage collector finally calls the finalizer, that data will still be alive because it's not the reference itself. It's just a pointer to the reference, right? And if the value of that pointer is null, then it just deletes the pointer. And if the value of that pointer is not null, then it runs the finalizer and deletes the pointer.
Right. So, but it's this finalizer structure here. It's that finalizer that we shouldn't be passing the finalizer. We should be passing a allocated block of memory that has a pointer to the finalizer.
That's right, exactly. Which may be null if the finalizer has already been called by finalize all, by the environment teardown process. Exactly.
Right.
So
and the finalizer, where does that run? Like, I'm just looking, where would we then delete that? That's in the.
It goes out of scope when the finalizer, it's a unique pointer, right? So when it goes out of scope, then it's been destroyed.
Yeah.
Just like, but there's going to need to be a delete of it at some point, right?
Well, yeah, it's the deleter gets called when this unique pointer, like when the scope closes, right? Then the deleter gets called, and then that deletes it. So you don't have to have like a separate delete call.
Okay, so now where's the delete? Where's the delete? Okay, this is the deleter. Okay, so the deleter is in here.
Yeah.
Where it's where it deletes finalizer, delete finalizer.
Yeah, there it is.
So instead it'll delete the. Right. So this would actually delete that, but also delete the pointer we are passing and set it to null.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So the pointer being passed into node would be deleted either way, right? It's just none of this body would happen if the pointer is empty.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So this is one. Then the environment flag to decide whether it's teardown or not. That is the other. And then the two together should solve this buffer finalizer.
Okay.
Oh, and the third thing is to move the finalize all out of the destructor and into the body of the function, which ultimately deletes the environment. Yeah. So okay, three things.
three things. Like I think I understood the first two, which I thought was pretty easy, which was like move where we run those things, right?
Yeah.
And then have the flag. Yeah, second is the flag. Okay.
And the third is the protection that Lucas already did for references.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna try. I can probably try the first two pretty easily.
Yep.
I'll do that first, and then I can. I don't know if it's. I'll let people know if I've had a chance to look at it or not. If not, if you have time, that would be great. But
cool.
Okay, thanks. No, that's good. So if that's tracked down, hopefully that'll resolve it, because it looked to still recreate in like I think I had at least one case in master as well, so or main.
All right.
Okay, we're long after time, so we'll let everybody go. Thanks for everybody's time,
Yep.
and we'll talk next time. Bye.
Yep. Talk to you later. Bye.
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 Bye.